My sister-in-law mocked me for losing my job. She laughed, "Guess you should have tried harder." But now she's desperate for work. Here's the story throwaway account because my seal lives on Reddit. So buckle up, buttercups, because this is a long one, and I'm still simmering with a delightful mix of righteous anger and schadenfreude. This involves my husband, Mark, 35M, his sister, Sarah, 38F, and yes, I'm using their real names internally because I hope she stumbles across this, and me, 33F. Mark and I have been together for 8 years, married for 5. We've always had a pretty solid relationship, but his sister, Sarah, well, let's just say she's the human equivalent of a persistent, low-grade headache. She's always been incredibly judgmental, condescending, and just generally unpleasant. She considers herself superior in every way, shape, and form, primarily because she married rich. Her husband, Chad, is some kind of finance bro I've never bothered to fully understand. My career has always been important to me. I worked my ass off in college, got a degree in marketing, and climbed the ladder at a pretty decent tech company. I was a senior marketing manager making good money and genuinely enjoying my work. Then, 6 months ago, the company went through a massive restructuring and my entire department was dissolved. I was laid off, along with dozens of other people. It was devastating. Not just financially, although that was a huge stress, but emotionally. I felt like I'd lost a part of my identity. Mark was incredibly supportive. He picked up extra shifts at his job, he's a carpenter, and a damn good one, and constantly reassured me that we'd get through it. He even encouraged me to take some time to figure out what I really wanted to do next, instead of just jumping into the first available job. Sarah, however, was less than supportive. The first time we saw her and Chad after the layoff was at a family dinner at my in-laws' house. I was already feeling incredibly vulnerable, and the constant pitying looks from everyone were grating on my nerves. But Sarah took it to a whole new level. We were all sitting around the table after dinner, and my mother-in-law, MIL, bless her heart, was trying to be encouraging. You know, my name, this could be a blessing in disguise. Maybe you'll find something even better. Before I could even respond, Sarah chimed in, her voice dripping with that signature condescension she does so well. "Oh, I'm sure maybe you can finally find a real job, one that actually contributes something to society. Marketing is just fluff, isn't it? All smoke and mirrors." My jaw dropped. I literally couldn't believe she'd said that. Mark, thankfully, jumped in. "Sarah, that's incredibly rude. Naeem worked hard for her position, and it was a perfectly respectable career." Sarah rolled her eyes. "Oh, please, Mark, don't be so sensitive. I'm just saying, maybe this is an opportunity for her to do something meaningful, like volunteering at a soup kitchen. Or maybe she could finally learn to cook a decent meal." The cooking comment was a low blow. I'm not a bad cook, I'm just not passionate about it. Sarah, on the other hand, fancies herself a gourmet chef, despite the fact that most of her creations look like they belong on r/shitty food porn. I was so furious I couldn't even speak. I just excused myself and went to the bathroom to try and calm down. I could hear Mark arguing with her, but I didn't want to get involved. I was just too hurt and angry. The next few months were rough. I sent out hundreds of applications, went on countless interviews, and faced rejection after rejection. The job market was brutal, and the longer I was unemployed, the more my confidence plummeted. Sarah, of course, continued to make snide remarks whenever we saw her. She'd ask, in that sickly sweet voice, "So found a real job yet? My name?" Or she'd make comments about how lucky I was to have Mark supporting me. It was like she was actively trying to make me feel worse. Then about 2 weeks ago, the bomb dropped. Chad, Mr. Finance Bro himself, got caught in some kind of massive insider trading scandal. It was all over the news. He was fired, his assets were frozen, and he's facing potential jail time. Suddenly, Sarah's perfectly curated life imploded. The mansion, the designer clothes, the luxury vacations, all gone. Poof. And you guessed it, she needs a job. Last night we had another family dinner at my in-laws. It was tense, to say the least. Chad wasn't there. He's apparently holed up with his lawyers, and Sarah looked like she hadn't slept in days. She was pale, her hair was a mess, and she was wearing, gasp, clothes that didn't look like they cost more than my monthly rent. Dinner was incredibly awkward. Nobody knew what to say. Finally, my Mile, bless her eternally optimistic heart, tried to break the ice. Sarah, honey, have you thought about what you're gonna do? Sarah burst into tears. Actual, heaving sobs. I don't know what to do. I've never ever had to work before. Chad always took care of everything. After she calmed down a bit, and after my Mael had given her a hefty dose of pull yourself together tea, Sarah started talking about her job search. And that's when the golden opportunity presented itself. She started listing off the types of jobs she was considering. They were all wildly unrealistic given her complete lack of experience. She was talking about becoming a lifestyle consultant or a social media influencer or a personal brand strategist. Basically, all the fluff jobs she'd previously mocked me for pursuing. I bit my tongue hard. I wanted to scream to remind her of every single cruel thing she'd said to me, but I didn't. I just listened. Then she said it. I even applied for a few marketing positions, she said, her voice wavering. But it's so hard. They all want experience and I don't have any, except for, managing my own social media accounts. Her social media accounts consist of heavily filtered selfies and pictures of her overpriced avocado toast. That was my opening. I took a deep breath, looked her straight in the eye and said, with the sweetest, most innocent smile I could muster, "Oh, really? Marketing? Huh? That's interesting. It's a tough field to break into. You really need to have a strong portfolio and a proven track record. It's not all just fluff. Her face went from pale to bright red. She knew exactly what I was doing. Mark, who was sitting next to me, subtly squeezed my hand under the table. He was trying so hard not to laugh. Sarah stammered, "Well, I have a lot of transferable skills." "Like what?" I asked, tilting my head like I was genuinely curious. "Like complaining about your husband's cooking or expertly applying Instagram filters?" My Mile gasped. My name. But I was on a roll. "Because, those are valuable skills," I continued, my voice dripping with sarcasm. But they might not be exactly what marketing firms are looking for. Maybe you should try volunteering at a soup kitchen, to gain some meaningful experience. Sarah looked like she was about to explode. She opened her mouth to say something, but then just closed it again. She knew she was completely and utterly defeated. The rest of the dinner was quiet. Sarah barely spoke, and I made a point of ignoring her completely. When we got home, Mark burst out laughing. "Oh my God," he said, wiping tears from his eyes. That was amazing. You were savage." I just smiled. She deserved it. So Reddit, AITA, I know it was petty, and I know I probably should have taken the high road. But honestly, it felt so good to finally give her a taste of her own medicine. And maybe, just maybe, it'll teach her a little humility. I have a strong feeling this isn't over yet. Update 1. Wow, this blew up. Thanks for all the NTA votes and the hilarious comments. You guys are the best. A few minor updates and answers to some common questions. Why didn't Mark stand up for me more? He did, actually, more than I initially described. He had several full-blown arguments with Sarah about her behavior, both at the family dinner and privately. He also repeatedly told her to apologize to me, which she, of course, refused to do. He's a good egg, my Mark. He just hates confrontation, and Sarah is a force of nature. Are you going to help her? Absolutely not. I wouldn't lift a finger to help that woman. Besides, I have a feeling she wouldn't accept help from me anyway. Her pride is too immense. She'd rather starve than admit she needs my assistance. What about Chad? Still no word on Chad's legal situation, but I'm hearing whispers that he's looking at some serious jail time. Karma's a bitch, ain't it? What about your job search? Still ongoing, but I'm feeling much more optimistic now. I had a couple of promising interviews last week, and I'm feeling like I'm finally getting back on my feet. Seeing Sarah's downfall has definitely given me a boost of confidence. Petty, I know, but I'll take it. The most significant update is that Sarah called my ML yesterday, sobbing. Apparently, she's been getting rejected from every job she's applied for. She's completely freaking out because she's running out of money. Apparently, Chad's assets are really frozen, and she doesn't know what to do. My MIL, being the soft-hearted soul she is, tried to suggest that Sarah reach out to me for advice. Sarah's response? Absolutely not. I would rather die than ask her for help. She's probably loving this. She's probably thrilled that I'm failing. Well, she's not wrong. My MIL told me all this, shaking her head in disbelief. I just don't understand her, she said. She's always been so difficult. I just smiled and said, Some people never learn, Mael. Some people never learn. I'll keep you guys updated if anything else happens, but for now, I'm just going to sit back and enjoy the show and maybe update my LinkedIn profile just in case Sarah decides to start stalking me online. You never know with that one. Update 2. The audacity. The sheer audacity. Okay, Reddit, I thought I'd seen the peak of Sarah's ridiculousness. I truly did. I thought that her desperate, flailing job search and her refusal to ask for help, even when subtly suggested by her own mother, was the pinnacle of her entitled, self-destructive behavior. I was wrong. So wrong. Yesterday, I received a LinkedIn notification, a connection request, from Sarah. My first reaction was disbelief. I blinked at my phone screen a few times, sure I was hallucinating. Had she finally swallowed her pride? Was she actually going to reach out for help? I clicked on her profile, my curiosity, and let's be honest, my desire for more schadenfreude getting the better of me. There was no personalized message with the request, just the standard LinkedIn connection boilerplate. Okay, so maybe she wasn't ready to completely grovel. Fine. I accepted the request, because why not? Let the games begin. I fully expected her to message me, maybe with some half-assed apology, maybe with a veiled request for assistance. I was prepared to be supremely unhelpful, of course. I had a whole arsenal of passive-aggressive responses ready to go, but she didn't message me. Instead, she did something so much worse, so much more. Sarah. About an hour after I accepted her connection request, I started getting notifications that Sarah was updating her profile. This is usually pretty normal. People tweak their LinkedIn profiles all the time. But then I started noticing what she was updating. She had completely, and I mean completely, ripped off my profile, not just little bits and pieces, not just inspiration. She had copied entire sections verbatim. My summary, hers. My experience descriptions, copied and pasted with only the company names changed, and sometimes not even changed correctly. My skills section, identical. She even copied my recommendations from former, changing the names to, wait for it, fictional people. I was livid. Beyond livid. I was shaking with rage. This wasn't just desperation. This was blatant plagiarism, intellectual property theft, and a complete disregard for any semblance of ethics or decency. I immediately screenshotted everything. Every single copied section, every fabricated recommendation, every pathetic attempt to make herself look like a qualified marketing professional. I had a whole folder full of evidence. I debated what to do. I could report her to LinkedIn, but I knew that would take time, and frankly, I wanted a more immediate form of retribution. Then I remembered something. A few weeks ago, a recruiter from a fairly prestigious marketing agency had reached out to me on LinkedIn. I wasn't actively looking at the time, but I had a brief conversation with her and we connected. She seemed genuinely interested in my background and experience. I decided to reach out to her. I sent her a message explaining the situation, with screenshots attached, of course. I didn't explicitly ask her to do anything. I just laid out the facts and let her draw her own conclusions. Within minutes, she responded. "Wow," she wrote. "This is unbelievable. Thank you for bringing this to my attention. We take this kind of thing very seriously. I'll be sharing this with my team." I felt a surge of satisfaction. I knew I couldn't control what the recruiter would do, but I had a feeling that Sarah's chances of getting a job at that agency or any agency connected to it were now zero. But I wasn't done yet. I decided to call Mark. He was at work, but I knew he'd want to hear this. I recounted the whole story, my voice shaking with barely suppressed fury. Mark listened patiently, interjecting with occasional, "What the fucks?" and, "Are you kidding me?" Yes. When I finished, there was a long silence. Then he said, "You know what you have to do, right?" I knew. I called my Mael. Now, my Mael, as I've mentioned, is a sweet, kind woman, but she also has a breaking point, and Sarah had, without a doubt, crossed it. I explained the situation to her, trying to keep my voice calm and measured. It was difficult. My Mael was horrified. "She did what?" she exclaimed. "She stole your entire profile? Oh, that girl, I swear." She didn't even try to defend Sarah. She just kept repeating, "I'm so sorry, my name, I'm so sorry." Then she said, "I'm going to call her right now." I didn't hear the conversation, of course, but I can only imagine. My Mael, when she's truly angry, can be terrifying. She has a way of delivering withering criticism that can make even the most hardened criminal crumble. About an hour later, I received another LinkedIn notification. Sarah had deleted her entire profile. Gone. Vanished. Poof. I checked my phone. No messages, no calls, nothing. Silence. I don't know what my mail said to her, but it must have been epic. So Reddit, once again, I ask. AITA? I know I could have handled this differently. I could have been more graceful. But honestly, I don't regret a single thing. Sarah needed to be taught a lesson, and I think she finally got it. And frankly, it felt amazing. The question is, will she learn a lesson? I have a feeling this isn't over. She can't possibly sink any lower, though. Right? Update 3. The apology and the accusation. It's been about a week since the LinkedIn debacle, aka the great profile plagiarism of 23. After Sarah nuked her profile, I expected, well, I didn't know what I expected. Maybe a genuine apology, highly unlikely. Maybe continued radio silence. Maybe a nuclear explosion of rage directed at me. What I got was something else entirely. Yesterday, I received a text message from Sarah. My immediate reaction was to roll my eyes so hard I almost pulled a muscle. I braced myself for whatever fresh hell she was about to unleash. The text read, "Hey, my name? Can we talk? I think there's been a huge misunderstanding." A misunderstanding? Oh, honey, the only misunderstanding is that you think you're fooling anyone. I debated ignoring her. Part of me just wanted to block her number and be done with it. But the other part of me, the part that's fueled by a potent cocktail of righteous anger and morbid curiosity, needed to know what she was going to say. I replied, "Sure, what's up?" Short, sweet, and to the point. I wasn't about to give her an inch. She responded almost immediately, "Can we meet? In person? I think it's better if we talk face to face." I really didn't want to see her face, but I knew that if I refused, she'd just spin it as me being unreasonable or afraid to confront her. I sighed. Fine. Where and when? We agreed to meet at a neutral location, a coffee shop halfway between our houses. I made sure it was a busy public place. You never know with Sarah. I arrived at the coffee shop first. I ordered a large iced coffee, I needed the caffeine, and found a table near the window where I could see her coming. She arrived about 5 minutes later, looking surprisingly put together. Her hair was done, she was wearing makeup, and she was even dressed in reasonably non-offensive clothing. It was almost unsettling. She sat down across from me, a nervous smile plastered on her face. "Thanks for meeting me," she said, her voice surprisingly soft. "Let's get this over with," I replied, taking a large gulp of my coffee. She took a deep breath. "Okay, so about the LinkedIn thing. Here it comes. I know it looked bad," she continued, "but I swear it wasn't what it seemed." I raised an eyebrow. "Oh, and what did it seem like, Sarah? Because from my perspective, it seemed like you blatantly stole my entire professional profile, word for word." She waved her hand dismissively. "Well, yes, I borrowed some of your wording, but it was just for inspiration. I was struggling, okay? I didn't know how to write a good profile, and yours was so professional. I panicked." "Panicked?" I repeated incredulously. "Sarah, you copied everything, even my recommendations. You made up fake people to endorse you." She blushed, a faint tinge of pink appearing on her cheeks. "Okay, yeah, the recommendations were a mistake. I admit that. But the rest of it, it was just inspiration. I was going to change it eventually. I just needed a starting point." I stared at her, speechless. The sheer audacity of this woman was astounding. "Sarah," I said, my voice dangerously low, "you didn't just borrow my profile. You stole it. And then when you got caught, you deleted everything instead of owning up to it." She looked down at her hands, fiddling with the strap of her designer handbag, which I noticed looked suspiciously like a knockoff. I panicked," she repeated, her voice barely a whisper. "I didn't know what else to do." Then she looked up at me, and the tears started. Real, actual tears. "I'm so sorry, my name," she sobbed. "I'm so sorry. I've messed up everything. My life is falling apart, and I don't know what to do." For a split second, I almost felt sorry for her. Almost, but then she said it. It's not fair," she sniffled. "You have everything. You have Mark, you have a good career, well, had a good career, and you're so lucky, and I have nothing. Chad's gone, my money's gone, and I'm all alone." And just like that, any flicker of sympathy I might have felt vanished. "Lucky?" I said, my voice rising. "You think I'm lucky? I lost my job, Sarah. I spent months struggling to find a new one, man, while you mocked me and belittled me every chance you got. And now you're crying to me about how unfair it is that you have to face the consequences of your actions." She flinched as if I'd physically struck her. "That's not what I meant," she mumbled. "Oh, I think it's exactly what you meant," I retorted. "You've always been jealous of me, Sarah. You've always resented me, and now that your perfect little life has crumbled, you're trying to make me feel guilty for what? For having a supportive husband and a career that I worked my ass off for?" She didn't respond. She just sat there, staring at her lap, tears streaming down her face. I stood up. "I'm done," I said. "I'm done with your apologies, I'm done with your excuses, and I'm done with your drama. Don't contact me again." I walked out of the coffee shop, leaving her sitting there alone. As I drove home, I felt a strange mixture of emotions. Anger, yes, but also a sense of closure? I don't know. Maybe it was just the relief of finally telling her off. But the most surprising emotion was pity, not for Sarah, but for myself. Pity that I'd wasted so much time and energy on someone who was so fundamentally incapable of empathy or self-awareness. I have no idea what Sarah will do next. She might try to apologize again. She might try to blame me for her problems. She might even try to, I don't know, sue me for emotional distress. Wouldn't that be a twist? But whatever she does, I'm done. I'm moving on. And Reddit, I think that's the best revenge of all. If you thought that was crazy, hit that like button and subscribe for more wild stories. And if you didn't quite enjoy it, feel free to hit the dislike. Your feedback means a lot. Drop a comment below and let me know what you think or share your own experiences. And don't forget to check out my other videos for more insane tales. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.